If you have not yet figured out your niche and you want to figure out what products sell really well on Amazon, this video is going to do exactly that. I want to show you guys how to use SmartScout to be able to find really good categories that sell billions per month for you to then find a subcategory with low Amazon in stock rates and just overall good opportunities for resellability. So that's what this video is for. Stay tuned as I'm going to get into it right now and share my screen and show you everything. Right into it, guys. This is the tool that we're going to be using. It's called SmartScout. First things we got to do is sign in. Once we sign in, we're going to take a look at the tools that they offer, but more specifically the subcategory tool, because that is the one that is going to help us figure out what categories do the best. Okay, on the left here, you can see all sorts of different ways we can find good products. I love the brands section. I love the sellers, the seller map, and then suppliers is one we're going to talk about in this video as well. But let's go right into the subcategories, because this is a great place to start if you don't really have a niche yet. If you don't have an idea of what products you want to sell, even for like the mom and pop strategy that I talk about a lot in my channels and in all over social, this is a great way for you to find what mom and pop you want to approach, but of course, even for wholesale, what niche you want to get into. Look at these numbers, guys. Estimated monthly sales revenue for these categories are crazy. They're in the billions, right? And so here's a couple things that we want to take a look at and potentially filter right off the bat to be able to find low-hanging fruit. Okay, we can see all the columns here of how much Amazon sells within that category. We can see even Chinese seller revenue, interesting. Number of brands, average number of sellers. So we don't really care about these as much. We care a lot about the first few, which we'll look at again in a sec. And then average price is also one that could help us, because if our budget and our capital is low, then we want to ultimately get into a category that has a lower average price so we can buy more units of it and have a good power in terms of capital to be able to purchase product. Okay, so let's look at two things here. Okay, so we're looking at the subcategory tree here. If we hit filter on the right here, we can try to make this list a little smaller. Okay, revenues are massive, so we don't need to filter any of that. I think the most important thing here is Amazon. So let's start with the most brutal changes here. Min max. I'm gonna say minimum or maximum 30%. Of Amazon being on the listings. And then let's say I'm going to move my face here. Let's say for average price, we're going to have no more than, let's say, 60 bucks. Okay, but we will have a minimum of maybe, I don't know, 20 bucks. Okay, awesome. Okay, so that should do it. And you can already see that a lot of these categories have now opened up into subcategories. So we can take a look and go through some of these to figure out what products are doing well. Okay, now the next step here has to involve a little bit of common sense, because we want to find products that are good for reselling, meaning what products do we already know that has big brands, and so that way we're not focused completely on private label products either. That way we can just use a little bit of common sense to move quickly through this list. Okay, so let's see here. Within home and kitchen, we have 4 magnifying glasses here. I like to look at these because these are the most, I would say, these are the ones that we're going to be looking into, right? These are all kind of parent categories, but the ones with the magnifying glass shows us that these are the ones that we'll look into to find products. Okay, vacuum sealer bags. Let's look at it, because I think this could definitely have some big brands in there. Yogurt makers, on the other hand, probably not. This sounds like a private label product, right? But we can always take a look and see quickly, especially because I have AMW Scope's Chrome extension like installed, and that way we can see products really quickly and get a score 1 out of 10 for resellability, which makes it even quicker for us to analyze without having to look at every column and try to make sense of it. Okay, so let's see, vacuum sealer bags, interesting. right? Only less than 30% Amazon is on it. I'm going to hit the magnifying glass here. I'm going to hit products, okay, and it'll open up a new tab here. And let's take a look at some of these products, okay? And you can see here the loading. That's what the AMW scope does, okay? Otherwise, we'd have to look at this very manually and figure out, okay, how much is Amazon in stock? But we don't even know if they're dominating the buy box or not, which is very, very important, right? Number of sellers, is that good? Is that low? Depending on the revenue, right? There's a lot of mental calculation involved that AMW scope does for us. Okay, and that's why we can quickly see what's a 1 out of 10, what's a 1 out of 10, based on all of these factors you can see in the list here. So SmartScout and AMW Scope go really well together. Okay, and then we can see this one, if we hover over the image here, this one is rated a 7 out of 10. So that is a good product, right? Let's see what the brand is. It is Boneson Kitchen. Okay, so interesting. What I'm actually going to do here is, because this is in order of highest to lowest in terms of revenue, that's good. But it would be easier if we just sorted by brand, because that way we can see all the products under the same brand. And if I see lots of thumbs up for one brand, that's going to be my course of action. I'm going to then spend a week trying to find a supplier or wholesaler for that brand. Okay, so I can see here lots of thumbs downs, lots of thumbs downs. Let's keep scrolling till we find some thumbs ups, and as well as like a score higher than like 6 or 7 out of 10. Okay, so far nothing. We're going to keep going and let that load, right? Again, this makes it way easier for us to find good brands that have already, like the AMW Scope already does the calculations, right? It does all the major calculations for us. And again, if we look over some of the criterias within this tool, it checks for HazMat, it checks for brand presence, it checks for if it's meltable, and if we're in the meltable season, it checks for if the buy box is being dominated by one seller. It looks at all of these things that I care about as my own personal checklist, and it puts it into a tool for us to quickly analyze, and that way we're not wasting time, right? And this could be done for yourself, or this could be given to, let's say, your VA or your buyer in your team to be able to make quicker decisions. And we all know that in the game of reselling and wholesale, it's all about making decisions quickly so we can put our money into Amazon quicker and get our ROI quicker. Okay, so here, let's talk about this Bonson kitchen, right? We looked at one product, which was this guy here, if I'm not mistaken, and it's a 7 out of 10, right? And like there's another product that's a 6 out of 10. There's another product here that's a 6 out of 10. So those ones I want to look at a little more closely. And so, overall, like looking at this brand, we have about 3 products that seem good, right? Everything else is still giving us a 1, right? Maybe this one is good as well. That's 4 products, right? And so that gives me more motive to spend a week to try to find a distributor or wholesaler, or even open up an account with Bonson Kitchen directly, right? Because there are a few opportunities rather than just one. Okay, it's just a better use of your time. And that's why I organize it by brand here, to be able to look at some of these brands and see if there's opportunities within this brand, right? And if I find, let's say overall, just lots of opportunity within this category, then I'm going to focus on this category, right? I'm going to go to a trade show that is about vacuum sealer bags, or let's go back to the niche finder here. I would find a trade show that has to do with this subcategory, right? Like home and kitchen, kitchen and dining, small appliances. And so the whole point and beauty of this subcategory tree is that you're just kind of having an open mind, and you're exploring the opportunities to see what category has the best opportunities for you to go into. And again, that's really done much more easier now with obviously SmartScout, but having AMW Scope as a Chrome extension installed as well, so you can quickly figure out what is good and what's not. And just as a side note, all of these metrics are kind of predetermined based off of what I like, but they can all be edited. So if you realize that, you don't really care if there are FBA sellers on the listings compared to FBM, then you can edit these metrics and make them all customized to what you like, right? If you like HazMat, you can change if HazMat is good or not, right? If you prefer HazMat, then you can change this and that will affect the overall score. Okay, so it's very customized to what your checklist is. Okay, guys, I hope this was super useful because this is how I go around finding good products. And if I want to expand into categories, this is what I use. And this is what I recommend to all of my students, especially at the beginning stages when they don't have a category in mind. I like for them to use this as well as a few other things like, figuring out if you know a category well, as well as categories with lower returns in general, right? So these are some stuff that you want to keep in mind, but using SmartScout's subcategory tree is very, very useful for you to find very good subcategories to go into and find great products to niche into. Okay, guys, hope that was helpful. I'll see you in the next video. I hope that was entertaining and valuable at the same time. The next video that I want you to check out is this video right here. It shows you my 2025 strategy and how you can scale or even just step foot into the wholesale game and be able to do it quickly within 30 to 45 days and be able to see what I'm doing in 2025. Go check it out.